everyone, my name is Jenna, but you guys can call me Jen. Welcome back to my channel. Hi, hello. Welcome to a special little reading vlog where I'm going to be reading the entirety of this friggin' behemoth, House of Leaves by Mark Z. Danielewski. And I'm nervous. I'm nervous. Why am I reading this, you might ask? I would not be reading it unless my friend had picked it for book club, which she did. She kind of joked about it, and then all of us were like, well, what are you actually picking for book club? And she's like, I kind of want to pick House of Leaves. And so we're all going to be slogging through this 700-page novel. That is, it's a visual experience. So it's like not available in ebook or in audiobook form or anything like that. It is available like this. I'm a little nervous that this is just gonna fall so flat for me because I know how I am with multimedia books. Because I've tried once to read like Illuminae and it didn't go very well, didn't like the multimedia kind of thing. I don't know if this really counts as multimedia, but it's a weird reading experience is what I know. Just right off the bat, we had a little baby forward and then like the next page says, this is not for you. So we're gonna find out how this goes, and that's what this reading vlog is gonna be. Book club is next Sunday. It is currently Sunday as I'm talking to you. I have the week off of piano because it's spring break for kids in Canada right now. So I'm gonna be taking as much time as I need this week to read House of Leaves, and you guys are gonna come with me. So let's get this started. All right, my guys, I'm on page XVII of the introduction-y foreword of this book, you could call it, and the font is driving me bananas. It is so hard for me to focus on, and that's probably such an English major thing to say. This font is making me physically mad. Was that a choice, Mark Danielewski? I hope this is not. Oh God, it like continues a little ways. It returns and continues. I think it's this guy's like perspective is written in this awful serif font. It is so difficult to look at and so difficult to read. I'm sorry. Just like, why? I'm struggling. I don't even know how many pages I am in, but I need to get to a numbered page area so that I can actually start keeping track of page numbers read, because how do you track Roman numerals? How do you track Roman numerals, my guys? Oh, but then it starts back at page 1 when the chapters actually start. I hate that. I hate when books do that. Anyways, I just thought I'd pop in with that update. The font of this beginning section is making me physically mad. It is hurting my eyes to read. Oh no. Hello friends, it is now day 2 of reading House of Leaves. I'm here reading the House of Leaves, and I'm on page, it says 67, but it's not, because there were 22 pages before of like forward. So I'm really on page like 80 or 90 right now. This book is hurting my brain. And I've now gotten to the point where I am fully like annotating my own thoughts into this book because that is the only way I can focus on it. It's split into 2 perspectives with a third that comments. So we have the main storyline written by this guy named, I don't even know, his name starts with a Z, and it's his like book that this other guy Johnny finds in like once this Z guy dies. And so Johnny takes this book and he's reading through it and he's making his own notes on it. So the foreword is Johnny finding the book essentially, and then throughout the whole piece, we have the occasional Johnny interlude formatted in footnotes. So he makes notes on the piece, but 95% of the time he's not even addressing what's happening in the story. He's just rambling about his own life and how, I don't know, it's very strange. He doesn't even focus very well in his own life either. Like he is, every time he comes up in here, he's mentioning substance abuse and like drinking or doing drugs or what have you. His life is just unmoored. And every time he comes up, I'm just like, this man is just a soup of substance abuse. Like, he's not thinking straight, and it's very evident in the way that he writes. Like, sometimes when he writes, it's very intellectual, and it, like, comments on something in the piece, but that's like 5% of the time. The 95% of the time, I don't know what's going on, and I do skim over it until I like find something that mentions the book again, because I don't give a shit about this man's life. I just want to know what's happening with his house. Because in the perspective where we follow the guy's like written record of this story, because it's not even his story, it's a written record of another guy's story. It's like story inception, let me say. But so this Z guy is writing this like weirdly academic book. Like when I first started it, I was like, this reads like a textbook. I can't. And there are sections that do fully read like a textbook. Like he went on a ramble for about 2 or 3 pages about echoes and like literary examples of echoes and like the Greek myth of the god of being echo and like all this kind of stuff just to explain an echo in a hallway. So it's like, okay, we're reading this bit where it's essentially an academic paper inserted into the middle of this actually kind of interesting story about this family who's in this house. And it's like what's the best way I can describe it? It is an analysis of the like at-home video type of thing that the husband of the family is putting together. Like he's set up cameras in every single rooms except for the bathrooms. And it's like they're triggered by motion, so they will record any motion in the room. And so it's like a Paranormal Activity vibe of like home movie. But the story that we're getting is an analysis of it, so it has an opinion. This book is so layered, and I'm slowly losing my mind, which I think is the point. But again, when we get these like unending footnotes, like this is not even the full footnote. This is like the middle of a footnote of Johnny's point of view, where he's talking about a sex worker, Thumper, that he named, that he's super in love with, which is creepy. The way that he treats her, terrible. I really don't like Johnny. He's making me creepy. But like, okay, so this entire like waxing poetic about echoes could have been summed up in this one little section that says, myth makes echo the subject of longing and desire. Physics makes echo the subject of distance and design. Where emotion and reason are concerned, both claims are accurate. And where there is no echo, there is no description of space or love. There is only silence. That is all we needed, instead of pages and pages and pages of this man just waxing poetic about echoes. But I'm so intrigued at the same time. But also, we get full pages of this, and these are just names for no reason, because it's not even part of the text. It's a footnote on the text, and not a Johnny footnote. No. There's other footnotes too. So we have like the regular footnotes that I believe the man who wrote the text put in, and we have those footnotes with like explain little things in the text, or give us like relevant reading material to go read after. And then we have Johnny footnotes where he goes and waxes poetic about his life. And then we have editor footnotes as well that just pop up every once in a while. And they're marked with a little ED. And every once in a while I forget that there's an editor. And I'm just like, who's Ed? And then I go, right, it's the editor. So this book is making me lose my mind. I have to get to page 74 for this chapter to end. So I think I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to go to bed. But I'm proud of the effort that I've put into it so far, but this is going to take me very long to read until I get to this weird stuff. I also broke the hell out of the spine when I first got this. Like, I was doing the thing that I usually do with paperbacks where I like prepare the books for reading so that it's easier to read, because this is it was quite stiff and quite, you know, textbooky when I got this. So I was like, oh, I'll just prepare it for reading like I usually do. And I did it, and I literally just opened the page and it broke. Like the full binding broke, which is very unfortunate. But that's besides the point. It is midnight. I need to stop. That is my update for House of Leaves. All right, my guys, we have reached the first weird page. Meaning like format-wise, we've reached it. Page 120, I guess page 119, but we've done reached it. This box is exactly mirrored to what the box on this page says, which I find funny. They're not even in the same spot, which I think would have been fun if they actually were printed in the exact same spot. Like, it's literally like a see-through bit, but it's not. The lines don't line up. But guys, this book is destroying my brain. I don't even know why we're doing things like this. Like, I'm getting more intel about the narrator of this than I am about the actual story. It's driving me bananas. Anyways, just thought I'd update you on that. We've reached our first weird page. I also showed mom and dad this today, and because I went over for dinner, and they both of them went, "That's too much work." And I'm like, yeah, it is too much work for a book, but alas, that is how it is. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I'm totally skipping over a lot of this because a lot of the footnotes and the extra added stuff have no relevance whatsoever. There's just unending mirrored text that is just lists of stuff, like this in particular. Like, to look at it in my camera right now, it's actually straight on. Like, I can read that without whom culture would be, like it actually reads straight on. But like in person, that is mirrored, and that hurts. And yeah, so there's a lot of just like rambling about absolutely nothing. Like, we're getting to a point where this isn't even the story anymore. It's just footnotes about random shit. It's just random. So I'm skimming over a lot of that. I'm just going for the main text that is the main font, because that is the easiest to read, because it's the normal font. It's not the Johnny font, which I can barely read. I can barely focus on it. Why? What is the point of this book? There is... if someone out there could tell me the fucking point of this, please do, because it's making me mad now. Like, I was kind of enjoying it when it was just regularly laid out like a textbook with footnotes. I was kind of enjoying it. I was intrigued by the story and whatever, but now I'm mad because this makes no sense. There's no point to this book. So, I'm on page 142. Let's see how far I can get before I throw it against a wall. Hello, my friends. I am now on page 326. I have just zoomed through this part. Once I got past the just absolute craziness of this section here, I ended up getting through this bit from like page 180 roughly, which is where it kind of, well, not maybe even 180, 160 to like 240, and past that is quick to just zoom through. And now obviously I'm on page 326. And I keep flip-flopping between like extreme rage at how pointless this story is and then actually being interested. So what helps is just having the focus on the Navidson record. I watched Kayla's wrap-up, Kayla from Books and Lila. I rewatched her March wrap-up from last year when she read House of Leaves for the first time. And she explained a way to read it that helped her. And it was basically just to focus on the Navidson record strictly all the way through. And just forget about the footnotes, forget about Johnny's story and everything. And then the second time around, she focused on Johnny's story. No, the second time around, she focused on the footnotes as well. And then the third time, she was going through Johnny's story. So I don't have the time to do that, to read 700 pages over and over and over again. But I think it's interesting to have that in the back of my head and allow myself to skim over Johnny's stuff. Because Courier font is the hardest for me to read. I cannot focus on it. It is just so difficult for me to read. So it's adding to a layer of slipperiness of Johnny's stuff. I just can't focus on it. So most of the time I skim and try and see if my eyes will catch on anything important. Johnny's point of view is just so rambly and so pointless that it really doesn't add anything to the story for me. So who knows? It's interesting to contemplate this whole narrative that's written by this guy named Zampano. That's his name, Zampano. Or Zampano. I don't know. There's a weird accent at the end. Or Zampano. I don't know. It's weird to focus entirely on this as like, this is the story that you want to follow through, that this is the story about the Navidson record, about this house of the found footage kind of thing. When you consider it in a wider picture, it's really the story about Johnny finding this man's manuscript, which is a written record of an analysis of the Navidson record, which is a found film thing. So it is like this big framed narrative thing, but it's not written in a framed narrative like The Princess Bride is, for example. That's a framed narrative. It's written as like a story being told in a story. This is it just hurts my head. But it's interesting to think about. There have been a few moments where I just like kind of sit here and go, why? Obviously, but there are also a few moments that I've kind of flagged, and it's interesting because there's a question brought up on page 172 that is literally the only text on the page. It's, can Navidson's house exist without the experience of itself? And then there's another moment where, oh God, where'd it go? Did I not dog ear it? Probably not. Where it's like the commentary of something comes back to the fact that what if these people are only experiencing this because of this? It's a subjective experience? I don't know. It's wild. I'm gonna keep reading for a little bit. I don't remember where I was. Oh, right here. Okay. But yeah, yeah. It's almost 10. I'm vaguely losing my mind, and it's because of Johnny's bullshit that I'm losing my mind 100%. I don't like his stuff, but I'm intrigued as hell by the Navidson record. I wish we just got a book that was just the Navidson record, because that's a spooky ass house. Spooky ass house. But anyways, I'm gonna keep reading. Minutes after midnight, and I've reached page 549. I told myself I would stop at 10 o'clock, and it's now 2 hours later, and I've reached the appendices. I have reached the end, essentially. So now it's just the ephemera that is included, which is fun. It's like actual appendices and like pictures of stuff, which is wild because we actually get proper photographs of bits of the manuscript and stuff. So cool. And then things like letter to the editor, very fun. From Zampano himself, very cool. Intrigued. And then we get a song that's missing. We get poems. We get so many goddamn poems, and then we get collages, which is very fun, and actually is the like same as the frontispiece. Very cool. Okay, so yes, most of this I have already read because a lot of the back portion are the letters from Johnny's mom, which are mentioned in here, and I did read them a lot earlier. So I'm gonna finish this book, and then I'll chat to you later. And just like that, she's done. Holy bananas. I didn't expect to be done today, or tonight, I guess. I read so many goddamn pages today. Where did I start from? Oh my god. Oh my god. I was in like the 80s when I started, and I finished a 700-page book. Granted, a lot of the pages look like this, but those first 100 pages of this book, 150 I'll give, took me so damn long to get through. It's like wading through academic soup that is like the consistency of like hardening chowder. Oh god, it was hard to get through. This book read like a textbook, but the story of the Navidson record is so cool. Did I hate it? I hated it. Did I love it? I loved it. What? Oh my god, the weight of this thing on my head right now is the weight of the world right now, and it feels like that. This is how it feels to have read it. If any of you have a really heavy book around you, put it on your head. That's what it feels like to have read this. I'm gonna have to sleep on it. I'm gonna have to... Maybe I'll give you guys updates after book club to see if I can, I don't know, somehow friggin' make sense of my thoughts on this book when I talk to my friends about it, because damn, that was a ride. I honestly don't know if I will be able to rate this at all. Oh my god. Okay. It is unlike anything I have ever read. I do stand by the fact that a lot of it was absolutely useless. to the story. A lot of those footnotes useless to the story. A lot of Johnny's story was absolutely useless, but the story itself is told in such an interesting way. I wish we had gotten just the Navidson record as its own story. Although, which would have been really like a really cool read, just to have the Navidson record as its own story, minus the footnotes. Just give me that story, but told by someone who wasn't Zampano, because Zampano had a bias the entire time he was talking through the story. The entire time he narrated the story and was like describing it, he had a bias, and it was a misogynistic bias against Karen, who was the mom in this. And he did kind of idealize Navidson and the men in the story in a way, which is very interesting. But Zampano's like point of view also at like, I want this story that's like, I want the Navidson record completely separate from this specific story, The House of Leaves. But I don't think you could ever do that, because like everything else just kind of adds to it. Johnny's story does not add to it at all. Remove Johnny's story and you still have a good story here. Although it does have like, Johnny's story does frame it interestingly, because we get it out of Zampano's like apartment, which is just a mess at the beginning because Zampano died, and Johnny's friend Lude, I think is how you say it, was one of the persons or people to like find the body, I think, and then brought Johnny there, and Johnny was the one who saw this crate essentially, which contained all of Zampano's notes and ephemera on the Navidson record, and put it together and all that kind of stuff. So I guess he did a lot of the work to like actually put it together, but then other people ended up, a nameless editor found it and like actually helped make it cohesive. I don't know. Now I'm just rambling. This was weird, but it's done. So there's that. Oh my god. All right, well, I will catch up with you when I have more thoughts. But I did it. I finished the House of Leaves. All right, friends. What are our thoughts on House of Leaves?
It's the worst part of academia and the worst part of like, I almost want to say worst part of straight white male writing. In regards to how it writes female characters.
Word.
Yeah, word. Zampano, so biased against Karen.
Johnny, just
and Johnny, absolutely
Johnny's
the
got
worst.
so many bad vibes.
Yeah,
So mad
he needs therapy.
Yeah.
Everyone
in
was
this.
That could be a sequel.
That could be the sequel, yes.
700 pages of therapy transcripts.
It just slowly gets more clear to read by the end of
it
it.
starts as a mess. And
Yeah.
then it's just like
That could actually work.
It's Johnny's gratitude journal.
Yoni, thoughts on House of Leaves?
It's a joyless, thankless book that's not used.
That's such a mood.
Unconcise.
Yeah.
Oh.
An experience I'll probably never have again reading a book.
Only Matthew likes this book.
I actually really liked it.
I
It's
liked
okay.
it.
I thought there were a handful of really interesting concepts just bogged down by pages and pages and pages of nonsense.
Here's the cost of such experimental writing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
It's
the cost
art.
is too high for me. I like
Yeah,
I like
the
just
price is
You'll wait
art
till
books.
it's more refined.
Yeah.
I wish the graphic
Yeah.
novel comes out.
I agree. But
I
then
think
when you
this is the first book, like this is like when, you know, the teacher asks a question and he was the first person to put his hands up, and so like points for that, but like nothing else.
He put his hand up and now no one else wants to follow up.
Yeah. But the refined writing will come later,
Yeah.
you know?
Mm-hmm.
I agree with all of you. Although if you try to strip any of it away, you lose
You
the
lose all of
essence
It
of
is a
the
whole.
story.
It is a
Yeah.
whole, as fractured as it seems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It feels
Which
like
is kind of
someone, like what someone would submit to a creative writing class.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If someone submits 600 pages to a creative writing class,
700. With the ephemera, 700.
oh my god.
All right, star ratings. SJ.
I think I gave it 3.
Yanni.
1. It's my first 1 star.
I love that. Sophie?
2.
And I gave it 3.5, and it's eking its way into a 4.
Oh.
So, because the
Yeah.
more we talk about it, the more I like
The
it.
house is starting to eat your brain.
It is.
You
I
guys-
mean, it did. Reading 600 pages in one sitting, not a good idea. Not a good idea.
No.
Don't do it.
You guys should like check back in a year.
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
Just
we
see what
should.
you see
Yeah.
what the vibe is. based
I'll pick
on
it again for book club.
No,
Oh, no, don't do that.
I'll kill you. I'll kill you dead.
We'll bring
Every
John
second-
next time.
Every second book club, SJ gets to choose House of Leaves.
I genuinely thought that I was ready to willingly forego my right to choose the next book for book club because I was going to
waiting
DNF
for
it
that.
halfway through.
I was waiting.
was
Sophie
just
and I
like-
had a bet that you weren't gonna finish this.
This was the
so
book we
ready.
thought would break you.
Yeah.
I was so ready. I didn't know I was going to finish it today in the morning.
I'm
I
very
finished
proud
it
of
this
you.
morning.
I'm very
thought
proud
it
of
was
you.
pretty rich we set that rule for having
House of Leaves.
right before we read this book. But I think it was necessary.
Well, it's because of me, because I admitted that I DNF'd Cold Mountain.
But you did that after you set the rule. So you pick really interesting books.
I think you...
Hello friends, welcome to the end of this video. Thank you so much for hanging out with me as I read this absolutely crazy book. It is now 5 days since book club. But yeah, House of Leaves. What a time this book was. And I hope that that little clip of us discussing in book club was, you know, interesting in some kind of way. It was such an interesting conversation between all of us. I think we ended up talking about the book for more than an hour. I asked them all, I said, hey, do you want to like do your thoughts in a concise way for my vlog kind of a thing so that we can get just a little bit of interesting footage out of it. And I think this was a good little wrap up of our discussion because we had been talking about it for an hour beforehand or more. Book club's always a good idea, and it's always interesting when someone brings something like House of Leaves to the table. I stand by my thoughts in this video. And I also stand by the fact that I think this is now becoming a 4-star for me. I think that this book it's an experience in itself because it is so convoluted and twisted, and as Sophie said, just twisted around with nonsense, but it does have some interesting stuff going on in the middle of it that getting to the interesting stuff is a journey on its own, and this book is just so interesting. And I really enjoyed The Navidson Record. Like, it's probably one of my favorite weird haunted house stories that I've come across, which is rare because I don't read a lot of horror, as you guys know. I enjoyed this, which I didn't expect going in. I expected to hate this with every ounce of my soul, like Yeleni did, giving it a 1 star. This is also full range of ratings besides a 5-star, but we brought in my friend's boyfriend. We brought in Matt. You could hear him talking because this is a book that he really liked. He read it previously and he really liked it. So it was really interesting to have him part of the conversation as well because he hadn't read it recently, but it was more of like what he could remember from it and like what he remembers taking away from the book, which is very interesting. And he actually, he said a really good point that wasn't in this discussion part of the video, but he said that because he read it so long ago, he doesn't really remember a whole lot of it, but he said that it was at a time of his life when he read a lot of other books and he doesn't remember a single thing about those other books, but this one stands out and it's just, in its nature, it just is something that people remember. If you've read House of Leaves, you remember it for a long time. And you remember probably not all of it, like there's a lot of pieces in this that are just odd and I probably would get more of the story if I reread it, but you remember how weird it is and what effect it had on you. And so I'm interested to maybe even revisit this in a couple years to see how my opinions have changed. That was my reading vlog of House of Leaves, my guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Leave me a little leaf emoji if you don't know what to comment down below. And let me know if you've also read House of Leaves or if you are interested in reading it now that you've seen me go through it. Anyways, my friends, I will catch you in another video very, very soon. Stay kind and keep on reading.